Hi, Mukhtar. Uh, if you can hear me, please kindly send an emoji to the uh, chat board, or you can just say you can hear me. I can see that
I
we
can
have.
hear you.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. You are all welcome to this CNCF Lagos bi-weekly knowledge series. I welcome you all. So while we wait for others to join us, I will kindly ask you if you can send messages to anybody that you know that's supposed to be here. You know, your friend, your colleague that you know that they're supposed to be in this section. I'm very sure that this session is not the kind of section or they will like to miss. So kindly tell them that we are starting. So let's give grace of some minutes while we kick it started. So send message, put it on your status, WhatsApp message to people that you think is supposed to be here. I'm very sure today episode is going to be awesome one. So let your friend know that it's time for them to come and learn new things, all the things that have been looking shady to them. Just let them know that it's time. Put it on your WhatsApp status. We will be starting soon. Let's okay. Mhm. You guys, you are not showing the fire that you are really ready for today's session. I'm not seeing anybody's chat on. I can see Samson is on the call today. We have Uju Njoku. Thank you for coming. Destiny, let's show the fire. Let's show the fire that we are ready. I want our engagements in the chat board. Just let us know your expectation. Maybe if you can just drop it as a text message, or before we even kickstart proper, maybe anybody have maybe can just come on live. I would like to give grace to like two people. You can just unmute. That's if you have the yeah, I think you should be able to unmute yourself and just let us know your expectation. You know, Mukhtar is on his ear. That's before I even
No,
introduce him.
sorry, it was a mistake.
Oh, all right, all right. Because you are the one that is going to give us the ginger today. So anybody, maybe what you are expecting from today's episode, you can send it as a text message, or if you want to unmute, you know, what's your expectation like for this session? What are you, you know, what do you intend to gain today? You just want to share one or two things, or maybe you have, you know, you have the grace. We're having the grace of like 30 seconds more. Anybody? I can see that we have quite, uh, okay. So if nobody wants to say anything, all right, I think we are starting now. So welcome. Well, once again, okay, I can see Osegbu. Good afternoon, guys. My expectation is just to learn more about OpenTelemetry here. Yeah, I believe that that's what majority of us are here to learn because it's one of the key tools for uh, all tech guys today. You know, I can see something. Something saying is happy to be here, folks. Happy to be here, folks. Look forward to learning about observability with OpenTelemetry. Definitely, something. You are going to get more enlightened about OpenTelemetry and how it's related to observability. So, once again, I would like to welcome each and every one of us to this session of our bi-weekly knowledge series. This is CNCF Lagos, the where uh, we actually come together to share ideas, to learn, you know, this particular episode, as we all know, for those that are here last week, we started this bi-weekly. Is a monthly program, or is a month? Will I say, yeah, is a program, is a learning uh, series that we engage in as a community. So we have CNCFs all over the country. In Mina, we have them. Just to give us brief or quick overview of CNCF, we have it in Mina and other places. There are other countries. I do hear about the one in Canada. Every state on we're supposed to have a chapter. So you are welcome to Lagos Cloud Native uh, Community Foundation, Lagos chapter. And this is actually created to help engineers, like you, enthusiasts like you, practitioners like you, to learn. We learn almost all the time, to connect and also to gain a lot of practical experience, you know, and you know, community conversation. We do have that one. We have physical meetups that we do, that everything is around cloud native technology. As we all know, the side of tech that we have is more about culture. But as we are learning cloud native culture, it goes hand in hand with the tools that we use as well. So without wasting much of our time, like I said, the bi-weekly knowledge series is one of the things we actually do in CNCF Lagos, just to ensure that we keep educating ourselves in the community. We hold it twice every month. This is the second session. Like, we had one, the very first session last week. Today's one, I'm very sure it's going to be explosive. You know, going to be explosive. And we'll be coming up with, we do come up with new topics. Industry experts come around to talk to us, like Mukhtar that we have today. Is an industry expert, practitioner. We have other practitioners as well that come to show us how they use a particular tool in their enterprise applications or solutions. So we learn new things. We learn new to how they use those tools in their company, the kind of culture they practice in their organization. So even though if you are not experienced, maybe you are still looking for where you'll be working, all the things you gather from this kind of session or this kind of learning, it helps you to build yourself. By the time you eventually join an organization, you have learned one or two things on how to go about your day-to-day job. So I will be introducing today's topic to you. As we all know, let me see if I can share my screen. I think I can do that. I don't actually prepare. Okay, just a second, please. I have sorry. So I'm trying to share my entire screen. Okay. Okay. Please. All right. Uh, I I just want to ensure that I have access to the chat box as well. So today we'll be learning about understanding cloud native observability tool with OpenTelemetry, where I believe that last week that Mary actually show us how to build uh, sorry, okay. So I don't know if it's good for you that the way you see my face. So I have something I listed out. So like last week that Mary actually started with us on building observability stack using Grafana, Prometheus, and Loki. And I'm very sure we all understand that part, but uh, this, well, the one that Mukhtar will be showing us today is not like laying another layer on our observability tool. You know, it's very easy for you to have something built already like the Grafana, Prometheus, and Loki, how they set it up, but how to actually use it, to get the telemetry of our application. I believe Mukhtar will be doing justice to that tonight. I will like to introduce our speaker, which I've been mentioning his name, is an expert in this field. So Mukhtar is a seasoned site reliability engineer with deep infrastructure expertise that specialize in building reliable and scalable system at MTN. That's where he works. You can see that is an experienced speaker that we have today. He design and operates production grade cloud native platform and is a certified Kubernetes administrator. So for those of us that are planning to write that, you can ask questions around that one as well. So he's an active open source contributor, you know, uh, and he has built tools including a Kubernetes operator in Go. His interests actually center on observability and modern infrastructure with a particular focus on metrics, log traces, and eBPF. So he's also shares insights regularly through writing and community knowledge sharing on cloud native. So I'll be bringing Mukhtar up. Before I hand over to Mukhtar uh, to put us through on today's topic, I'd like to quickly do an housekeeping. So in the course of Mukhtar showing us uh, talking about open telemetry, I want us just to the questions that we have. If maybe you want to ask any question, you can easily drop the question on the as a text, or maybe you can wait till the end as well, that you can easily unmute yourself while you ask your question. So I just want you to set your pen and paper, your notebook, while Mukhtar have the floor. Thank you. Hello, Mukhtar. Can you hear me?
Hi, Maiwa. Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, so let me share my screen. Okay, okay, so please confirm you can see my screen.
Yes, I can see us.
Is it coming? Okay, okay, great. So, all right, so hi everyone. Mm, Thank you for having me today, and I'm so happy as well to be here with you today. So, and the whole thing around this discussion is going to be around observability. And I know that we've already had another session last 2 weeks, right? And it's also about observability, right? So, And right, so my own session today is going to like have like a clear walkthrough, right? So after we discuss most of all these things, and especially like almost everything from scratch, I believe like each one of us is familiar with observability and knows what it is, right? But I want us to like have like a more, you know, a more high level like of understanding of all these things. So I'm going to start from scratch, right from the origin of observability, how it's actually being driven and all that, right? So and we're also going to discover how like a modern cloud native teams build like an end-to-end observability tools, like based on the use case I have with my current company, right? Because we've done some quite a number of projects around observability, right? And it's actually one of the core like operations in MTN as we speak right now. So okay, so let me go to the next slide. Okay, so this is about me. My name is Muutassim, but you can also call me Mukhtar, right? And I'm a senior site reliability engineer at MTN. Please, sorry, I have a question. Please confirm you can hear me, that from the audience. Do you guys hear me? You can just like maybe drop like an emoji to just confirm that you can hear me.
Yes, Mukhtar,
I have like
we
a
want to
thumbs up.
confirm that we hear you loud and clear. Yeah,
Okay, okay, that's
we
fine.
can to the cheap things.
Okay. So that's a bit about me. I have actually been like a system engineer for about 5 years now, right? And the journey has always been interesting. You can also check my projects on my GitHub profile. Right? I have some cool stuff that I worked on, which is also like a part of like usability, and some CLI tools. I've written in Go. Um, I'm also passionate about open source and performance engineering, because basically what we are doing here mostly is like is performance, right? So we don't just build dashboard and just hand it over to the monitoring teams. We also like make sure that these systems that we monitor, they are actually reliable, right? Like they are meeting the threshold that is being set for the SLOs. So that's a bit about me. So this is our agenda for today. It's just a quick, like overview of what observability is, and we'll now go deep dive into OpenTelemetry, right? So we're gonna um, discuss about what observability is, and it's the how it differs from monitoring, because I believe like a lot of people are actually like comparing like observability, and it's like a, it's like actually like one thing, which is which we are going to also discuss today, right? And I will also talk about how observability is now like a huge part of cloud native computing foundation ecosystem, right? And we're going to discuss like the three pillars, observability, right? Which is that, so everything revolves around logs, traces, and metrics. So these are the pillars. These guys are very important. Without them, your data will just be like you can't actually utilize your data. I'm also going to talk about context propagation, and also trace and context propagation, right? We'll jump into open telemetry, right? So we discuss open telemetry, like we are going to like have a deep dive, and I believe like before the end of this session, each and every one of us should be able to like spin up an open telemetry collector, you know, on his environment, and be able to like instrument one or two applications, right? And the last part is the demo. So today we are going to like experiment like you know different instrumentation methods. We're going to try manual instrumentation, which maybe we might use like a Node.js application, and the the automatic one we might decide to like leverage like maybe a Java application, right? So and and the next agenda is Q&A. So after our demo, I expect a lot of questions from you guys, right? And contributions as well. Please apologies for my slides, just kind of you know. Okay, so okay, so I hope we are all ready. Can we just go ahead and you know get right into it? We are all ready, right?
Yes, I believe we are already.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
getting
Okay.
reaction on chat as well.
Yeah. Yeah. So so this is like a whole overview for what observability is, right? And we're gonna start from right from the origin, right? How it was derived and all that, and how it has become a huge, like component, like within the cloud native computing foundation, right? So observability is actually is originally came from so there is a theory called control theory, right? It was used in the 1960s, right? And at that time, right, machines were so complex that engineers couldn't open them up. Like if you have an application now that is running on a server, once that application is being started, you won't be able to log into that server. That's I'm talking about like those days, like in the 60s, right? So you have to bring down your machine before you be able to like log into like just like a typical SSH. Like you can't do that SSH. So at that time, like so what they normally do is uh, even as at that time, there is always like a log file, right? As an engineer today, if you write an application, you're going to like come up with your own, what's it called, a login library, right? That you're going to use to like structure your application logs, right? And you now append that emission to let's say a log file, right? So what they normally do is they will use like a maybe FTP transfer, protocol from one server to another, right? So this server is typically running the application while the other is just used to, you know, to read logs, right? And so that's how they actually basically like designed that system. But if you look at today, right? Today a single user request might actually travel like through hundreds of different services, right? On different environments. If you have a microservice application now that has, let's say, like 40 different services, right? And each service depends on another, right? If you're going to like send request, let's say you want to like buy something online, you click, a checkout button, right? That checkout button that you click, it might actually like travel through all the services that because like maybe there's going to be like a DB call, to just check to confirm that that user is actually like authenticated, and maybe there is another service that is so like all these, like whole thing. But again, like it's the same concept because traditionally in engineering we don't really like discard things when we have new technologies. So it's the same technology that's actually being improved. Before we read log files, but now our system is getting complicated day by day. We decide to say, okay, we can actually like optimize things and make things better so that uh, everything will actually like be seamless. So and if you look at the landscape today, like a lot of companies are actually like building like we are talking about building like self-healing you know mechanisms like remediation like you know build a system that withstand the any complexity that will actually that the system might actually overcome, right? So and you is the data that you have from your application that you can leverage to now make decision to say, okay, how do I build the system, right? Based on the scenario that happened, how would I now build like a system around my infrastructure that, okay, even when this application, if you look at Kubernetes, so it's just like a small overview. A Kubernetes was actually like a was born out of Borg. There is a project called Borg before Kubernetes, right? So it was designed to actually, because Google have like a lot of servers. So if they want to do maintenance now, you don't want a situation where, okay, if one service is down now, like they will have to wait for that other one to come up before the other ones will. So just like a system that makes sure, and it's the same technology that is being used in Kubernetes today, which everyone is blocking to, because Kubernetes does not go down, right? It does not allow your pod. If you run a pod today and it's not running, it will keep recreating, right, till the end of time. It Kubernetes will make sure that application is actually running, right? So it's that same technology. So the reason why I bring this context is you can't build things like that without having visibility into your system. So you need to understand your system before you can now go ahead to say, okay, I need to build something around it. If you look at the modern observability today, it has gone beyond just monitoring or like dashboards. There is anomaly detection, synthetic monitoring, like AI based kind of stuff. All right, so let's move further so that we will not spend much time. So in software, right, observability means the ability to understand what is happening inside the system just by seeing the data it emits. And that data is called is either log, metrics, or traces, right? And so this data usually comes in three categories, which are logs, metrics, and traces. These are the three core pillars of observability, right? We will come to talk about that in our next agenda. But today, modern observability is actually expanding, right? It's expanding. People are talking about EBPF. If you are following me on LinkedIn, you know I always talk about it and stuff. It's actually a very cool technology. It's not like it's a very old technology. EBPF has been used to like instrument like Linux kernel, all these kernel modules and stuff, like even in MTN, we still like instrument like kernel with EBPF. But look at the like the kind of things that you can actually build around it. Today, there's Cilium. Cilium is actually like built on top of extended packet filters, right? And it's being used now today to monitor network performance, security, and overall observability, right? There is events, profiles, data, and all this. These are like modern day observability as it's actually expanding, right? So we'll talk about maybe like in another like session I might actually decide, because EVPA is actually one of my interesting. I always want to talk about it, right? And it's so so now we're gonna talk about how observability like deeper from actual monitoring, right? So monitoring is like a reactive process that tracks predefined metrics to alert you when something is wrong, right? And while observability is just like an investigative capability that allows you to understand why something is wrong by just analyzing the system outputs, right? The logs and metrics and traces, right? So these are two different. So in my own, so observability is just considered like a subset of monitoring, and it's also very essential for managing the complexity of modern systems, especially distributed systems, right? And I will also gonna talk about. So I think why usability is now like a huge part of the CNCF ecosystem. I think is because of the so cloud native, and I believe we are all aware that most of all these tools that we use, all these cloud native tools, is actually being like CNCF is like a custodian to all these applications, right? Sorry, all these systems, right? So as organizations, move from monolith applications to like building microservices on Kubernetes, right? Service meshes, serverless, serverless infrastructure, distributed system. The old monitoring model that is just used to collect, logs from log files. You append them to a log file and use it to like maybe make some decision, business decision maybe that will like, but it's not real time. It has actually it has not been sufficient in today's observability uh, 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 point of view, right? So I'm going to give you like a quick overview of why this project has been adopted by CNCF ecosystem. Number one, I think is because is by nature cloud native, like it's actually a cloud native system. It has met that criteria for a system to become like a cloud native system, right? And is actually highly distributed, right? Because if you look at how observability pipelines are being built, it's not just in one place, right? Today, OpenTelemetry can give you SDK and APIs to instrument your application, but they don't provide out of box, observability backend. So you might need to like leverage your backend storage, maybe whether you use ClickHouse or Elastic or Jaeger, right? So it's actually highly distributed, and there are a bunch of other things that makes it more distributed, like trace propagation and context propagation, right? That it gives you visibility into not just the system that you instrument, another component that that system relies on. If today there's a DB that depends on your application, if you instrument your application with telemetry very well, there is a picture on Elastic called Service Map. You go to Service Map, you see all the other components that your application is connected to. So if there is maybe a glitch or maybe a disconnect, you definitely like pick out these things right from there. And dynamics stuff you can actually build like on top of Kubernetes. You can basically like set up your pipeline to run on pods. It's actually ephemeral, right? And I believe traditional monitoring tools built for virtual machines, they cannot keep up, right? They can't actually keep up. There are like technologies, or let me say kind of future. If your server now a BM crashes, you can actually leverage code down to like get like a stack trace of what happened, right? But that's no that's not that's not efficient, because if that system goes down, you won't be able to see anything until it comes back. But let's say you have a pipeline now that monitors your application. So even as the system is down, it keeps monitoring it, right? So that's why you see if a pod crashes now and is being monitored, you will see everything. You see time it crashes and when it comes back up, right? Because you have a pipeline that is actually watching over everything that is happening in your system, right? So and so monitoring is is actually like a known question. Anybody tell monitoring, it's about latency. If the latency is above like 300, like this is discussion around your CPU usage and all that, right? So you are actually monitoring. But when it comes to visibility, you start asking questions like, why is checkout slow for users? Or why is it that when a user tries to buy something, how long does it take? Like, how much millisecond does it take for a request to actually get through? Right? And like, so this observability and it quite differ from what as actually monitoring. Monitoring is like you set up like maybe a threshold on your SLO that okay, if social service, uh, if a particular service, like, so let's say you want to like measure like a latency of that service, right? And you have a threshold. So let's say in 3 days, I want this service to meet 99.9% of time. If it does not, flag it, right? So that's monitoring, because once that 3 days, the 3 days that you set is actually due, the 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 SLO is going to actually check to see that if that implementation is actually like it has met the criteria from the application perspective, right? You can also set up alert. So alerting dashboards, all these things are what we call monitoring, right? But observability is where if something happened now, you can decide to say, okay, I tried to buy like a wristwatch online, but I was in the middle of making payment when I inputted my card, but I realized that I got debited. But the checkout says, okay, maybe like you just get like you've been debited, but the transaction is not successful, right? So with observability, you can actually like you can actually have an end-to-end visibility into what happened, right from where the user logged into the application to where he tried to like purchase something, right? So I believe, I have a snippet of code here that says observability is always logs, metrics, and traces. And metrics is actually constant on monitoring, right? Because that's what we normally measure. Latency, CPU usage, and all stuff like that, right? And it's now telling you that okay, monitoring is like a subset of observability. Okay, so observability is actually one of the huge like project for CNCF. Basically because it's cloud native system and cannot operate reliably without it, right? And there are a whole lot of like technologies aside, you know like this whole concept. Even OpenTelemetry is also backed by cloud native computing foundation. There's also Prometheus, Bit and Jaeger. Right? All these tools are actually being managed by, and you don't just come to them to say, okay, I have made the criteria. So they will look at, because most of all these projects they are already open source. Right? I've been one of the uh, contributors to Cube Router. It's actually also being managed. It's under the CNC. Yeah, so if you see the whole thing, there are a whole bunch of like what's it called, hierarchy for even for the contribution. So if you just do like a deep dive into like the community, you understand how these things are actually being played out. Okay, so there are these key drivers for observability in the ecosystem, right? Complexity of distributed systems, and these are the things that actually like inspire the whole ecosystem to come all together and say, okay, build stuff that will actually like power the kind of infrastructure that we have in this time and age, because things get like rapidly change, and a lot of new technologies and systems are becoming more complex, right? So, and the idea behind moving from monolith to microservice architecture is also part of that. And you can see integration with DevOps and SRE platform engineering, right? So, okay, so that's about it. Okay, so the next slide. So we're now going to talk about the three pillars that we just discussed, I mentioned, and context and threat propagation. So these guys that I talk about, right? They are very very important. The logs, metrics, and traces. If you have a pipeline and it does not put these guys, it becomes obsolete because these are the key things that you need to. Sorry. So these are the things that revolves around observability, and without them, you don't have observability, right? So and I think that's the reason why they are called three traditional pillars of observability. And another component too that is very very important, which is context propagation, right? So and you see these three guys, right? Without context propagation, your data will just become like a silo, right? Because it's this technology that is used to actually connect, like span IDs and like all this journey that you see, like a business journey for how user is able to log in and try to like buy stuff. It's being tracked, and without this context propagation, you're just gonna have your logs, but it will not track how that journey is actually being carried out. Right? So there is actually like is a very key thing because it links those logs and traces and metrics together in the same request, right? Just making sure that observability is actually like possible in a distributed manner. And I think I think I need to explain this context propagation better. But although there is a way we'll talk about it, in the coming topic, sorry, agenda, right? But so the way this thing works is just like a concept that is actually built around you know these three pillars, right? And the main concept is for actually you know to just get these guys connected to each other. Because if you have let's say a pipeline now, right, you are using let's say an APM agent on Elastic, right? Do you know each and every one of these guys is going to have like its own index? But it is context propagation that actually correlate them together. If you push log now to let's say Elastic, you have like a pipeline that caters for logs, metrics, and traces. They are not going to go to the same index. So each index is going to sorry each what's it called component is going to have its own index, but they correlate, and it's actually that context propagation that does that job, right? If you are curious to know more about it, I think I wrote a blog about it. I will share the link maybe after this session, so you can have like a full overview of how that works, right? So that's the whole idea behind context propagation and how services talk to each other and stuff. You won't have visibility into another system just because it connects to your, like let's say you have three services now, right? And these services talk to each other, like, right, via like a reverse proxy or whatever, right? So and you only instrument one of the applications, but because of this context propagation, this guy is going to like pick like a span ID or a trace ID, a parent ID, sorry, for the span that is being generated, and he's going to take it everywhere till your request is actually like completed. So that gives you a full visibility into each request. Any request that is being fired, that guy is going to like pick out whatever the business doing is being carried out at the moment, and it actually be going to be locked, right? So that's about context propagation. And so the broader concept is just to pass essential metadata throughout a distributed transaction, right? It's passing that metadata, and it's that is being populated. Another thing is going to pick is just going to pick that span ID, and is actually, it will complete the journey. And if another service is going to pick that request, is also going to is the same ID that is going to be picked. And so you see how they are correlated. So I'll just do like a quick overview of how it actually works, right? So so the first thing is actually context creation. As you fire a request, right? When a request enters the system, like a user clicking, let's say a checkout button, a unique trace ID and essential span ID is being generated. So this is called context. I think all of us should be able to understand what context propagation is. So that's what context is.
Yeah, Mukhtar, sorry, a quick reminder. Please, if we can just move faster a little, we
Yeah,
just
yeah, because of the demo, right?
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Okay. That's fine. So, and I just wanted for everyone to, like, just have a clear picture. We can have 2 hours. I'm free. Okay. Okay. I will actually speed up a bit. Okay, so there is another subset, which is a propagation. So that propagation is like is automatically embedded into the headers, right? Hotel collector is actually using HTTP, and it has a protocol that uses HTTP and gRPC to actually send data to the exporter, right? Or whatever, maybe it's a message queue address. So so that request is actually being processed. If the request is actually being sent, right, and the context picked it, is the propagation process that is actually going to, like, push the data, right, and it will not be picked by, well, whatever, like, business journey that is actually ahead, right? So that's the correlation, between that. And there is something I also want to talk about, which is um, W3C trace context, right? I know it's not part of CNCF, but the CNCF community strongly recommends and actually promotes the use of it, right? Because it actually cut across, like, the various ecosystem, and ensure that it's actually, you know interoperability, between different tracing and observability tools. So you can also, you know um, check it out. Right, so let's go to the so more on context propagation. So you see that explanation, that brief explanation I did for how the metadata is actually being passed and being picked by other services. If you look at this, you will see that uh, a span ID. So this is actually like a post request, right? That is being fired. Automatically it generates like a span ID, right? With a number one, right? And as it's actually being passed to this guy, this service has already, like, picked his son, but he's created like the parent out of this, and he now has like a the different kind of span ID. So that's how it's being generated, and you can see the two calls to the HTTP endpoint, can actually be correlated with their upstream calls that actually comes from the front end. Yeah. So what's the open telemetry? The collector in respect to distributed tracing. So open telemetry is an open source, right? And we all talk about it, like, it's a vendor neutral framework for collecting, standardizing, and exporting matrices. and it's also like a huge project within this community, right? So if you look at out of box what's being, so these guys that you see, these are what is being used for every instrumentation, whether it be it you are using an agent or you actually want to like write your own traces from scratch, like maybe you want to do like a manual instrumentation, right? So the so why this guy matters, why open telemetry matters. Number one, it provides like there is no vendor locking because it's language agnostic. Anybody can use it, and it's not it's not it's not designed to like specifically used by certain tools. Like you can connect it to any of your back end framework, whether it's you're using Elastic, and if you even want to build your own backend system, you can actually build it to like. But OpenTelemetry does not provide a storage, right? It just give you API to instrument your application, and you have your observability backend where you actually push your data. So this API is actually being leveraged. If you look at today now, in MTN, right, we used to find it difficult to monitor mobile applications. You have to use Datadog, which is expensive, and that will end up being you will actually be like maybe query your what's it called your Firebase. So mostly it's from Firebase, and we don't see this business journey that we need to pick up from what is being shipped from the Firebase, right? And there's a whole lot of money that is being spent because of the big queries that's actually being because you cannot instrument Firebase without BigQuery, and BigQuery is actually expensive. So we sit down and say, okay, we need to come up with stuff like that. So we build a wrapper around this open telemetry, right? And it's like an SDK now that is used to instrument any mobile application within the MTN. We started with 19. So you can see this is one of the flexibility for open telemetry, right? You can also build on top of it, right? And it helps us to reduce observability costs. There is always a way to sample your data because you don't want to ship everything to your observability backend because storage is costly, right? And and you would find out that maybe out of 100% of the data that you ship, maybe it's just 3% that you want. The rest is just noise. So OpenTelemetry provides like a mechanism that is called sampling. You can use to like just pick out the exact data that you want and discard the ones that are not useful to you, right? So it has solved that problem, reducing costs, and it also supports all the signal, which is matrix traces and also cloud native, right? So and it's built for microservices, like a distributed environments, where you see traffic flows across dozens of services. And debugging requires, correlation across like, systems. So imagine you don't have like an observability tool now, you have 10 services. If something happened between these services, you have to be logging into each of the services to check logs and stuff. But this guy is going to help you to context propagation to just make sure that wherever that a request actually goes in, is going to pick it up and till the journey is actually completed. So Otter is now one of the fastest growing CNCF projects ever with actually broader adoption. I've seen a lot of companies today that are building their own system around open telemetry, right? I'll give you one example. There is Plain Grapes. The Plain Grapes, like is actually leveraging VPN and all this and this SDK that we just built, like it's just amazing. So and in a typical observability setup, application need to like export telemetry data directly to storage, and so you can just like have like your own analysis and stuff. But this can create like a range of challenges, including like an increased overhead, like consumption, resources consumption, you know, and there is also limitation, when it comes to like processing data. If I have large chunk of data and your observability backend has its own criteria for accepting data now. So right, the data has to be transformed, right from the pipeline before it's being pushed to the backend. So so a whole lot of process has to be done, right, before the data gets pushed to whatever backend you use. So that's the limitation. And it actually takes up a lot of resources. You are using collector now to process your data. You typically have to go through like how you structure your data from the collector and all that, right? And scalability issue as well. So like managing configurations, for telemetry export, across different systems is always hard. But today, all these guys have like CRDs on Kubernetes environment. You can spin up like a CRD for open telemetry. You don't have to go and be managing it. It's that guy that will actually help you to actually manage. So on Kubernetes, if you want to do a automatic instrumentation on Kubernetes, all you need to do is to just install the RC, right? Once you install the custom resource definition, then you can literally like run your collector and then instrument your application. So Hotel Collector, addresses this issue by acting as an intermediary, right? It centralizes this ingestion, processing and export of telemetry data across, applications and backends, right? Which is like a huge like problem being solved. And so if and I also want to talk about like the whole architecture behind this. I believe this will take us like maybe just 10 minutes. So there are these basic components, for the collector, right? If you look at the architecture, you will see that we have four different like components, right? We have receivers, we have processors, we actually have exporters, and we have service, right? And I'm going to take us through each and every one of them so that we are going to so that we will actually like understand them very well as we are going in to have our demo, because we are going to have like a practical, like a walkthrough of how to set up this pipeline, especially the collector. So what does it do? So receiver is actually the input source. That's where the data is coming in, right? If you have your setup, your application that is being instrumented and the collector is running, you basically saying, okay, this application, please, once you there is a new data that is being emitted by the application, please transmit that data to the receiver, right? So by default, auto collector has like as I mentioned, like you know, two different protocols, right? There's HTTP and gRPC, right? We normally use HTTP, right? So HTTP I think is like a 4318 and gRPC for 317, right? So your application is pushing like the data, like right through that receiver, the OTLP like open telemetry protocol. So that's the receiver. So the data, comes through there, and then it will now goes on to be processed. So there is also a Prometheus receiver on is actually out of box, on the collector, and there is also Jaeger, right? As far as I can remember. So let's also talk about the processor. So the processor, as the name sounds, it's actually what is being used to like process the data before it's being pushed to your observability backend. So when I say observability backend, I mean that's where your storage is. After all the data is being like a ship, the data is going to sit in your observability backend, be it Elastic or Jaeger or Grafana or whatever. So that's a processor. So it helps you to process your telemetry data after ingestion, before it's being pushed, right? And this processor has about it has some component as well. Number one is batch processor, and there is also filtering. There is also a metric transform processor. So what that filtering does is it helps you to like filter out some before you even start doing sampling and stuff. You can actually use this processor to filter out the data that you don't want, right? So matrix transform processor is it also standardize the consistency of the data across backends. So say you have different backends that you are pushing your data to. So it helps you to make sure that the data that is being sent to, let's say, Signals, is also the same data that is, if you have two different observability backend, is also the same data that is being sent to, let's say, Elastic Exporter. So it helps to like maintain that consistency. And the second to the last component is exporters, right? So this is where the telemetry data that is being processed is actually being sent, right? So exporter is if you are you so that's where you put your exporter endpoint, right? Let's say you are using Elastic as your backend storage, right? So the exporter, the endpoint for that Elastic size is going to fall under this block for the exporter, right? And we have three different exporters. We have like many. You can actually use as like any availability backend that is actually compatible with Open Telemetry. I just believe like it's actually going to work. Right. So, but one of the popular things we know are Prometheus, and there is also login exporter, there is Jaeger exporter. There is also APM, right, for Elastic, application performance monitoring for Elastic, which is like a fleet server. So you just like so each of these components, right, within the collective pipeline can actually be tailored to match specific availability needs based on your use case. It's just ensuring that the collector meets diverse data handling and the export requirements. And the last component, which is service, right? So this service is what is used to enable and configure your pipeline, right? Is just it's just another section, just like this receiver and the exporters, right? But it has like is actually a very powerful thing. Without it, you can't even run the collector. It helps you to like connect all these other components, right? So let's say now you have like an extension. So the extension, what it does, it handles the processing tasks. Like now you have a data that is being passed for maybe like after every let's say 10 seconds, right? So that service is actually like just helping you to like just make sure that what is it called? Oh, okay. So the extension, right? It's actually like a there are different like extension that you can use. There is gzip that you can use to like actually like a kind of compress your data, so that the data, as you are pushing it, it doesn't like overwhelm the observability backend as actually being pushed. So when it's being compressed, it will actually what's it called, the the uh, the load will reduce, right? It's just like how you zip your file, like the size of the file will not be the same as it is when it's not compressed, right? So there is also pipeline. So this pipeline is under service, right? And this is the heart of the data flow, right? Is actually where the processing chain is defined, and each pipeline specified receivers, processors, and exporters, right? And is bringing them together. And there is also telemetry, is also an extension. So this one is like a subsection, that is configurable for the telemetry settings, including like all the logs, traces, and it also helps to like monitor performance of the collector as well. So I think that's
Hi, Mukhtar. Sorry, I need to remind you about time. We have less than 15 minutes, so I will have maybe we should just do it this way. While you are doing the demo, all the explanation you have, you can be using that one to
yes, I can actually like
uh,
bundle it, with the demo, right? Yeah,
yes.
that makes sense. Thank you so much for this contribution. So what we are going to do now, in our demo, I believe we've seen what we talk about. So we're going to instrument like a so OpenTelemetry like provides there is a whole lot of information that I wanted to pass, but it will actually come after because we need to understand that before we instrument the application. So OpenTelemetry provides like two different kind of instrumentations. You can decide to use an automatic instrumentation if your application, like if OpenTelemetry supports that for your language. Like now, if you have a Node.js application and there is no way you can do automatic instrumentation, no agent that is cater for a Node application. So you have to like do the manual instrumentation of that application, right? So there is manual and automatic instrumentation, and this is what we are going to explore today. I will share my terminal. Okay. Guys, I hope I'm not overwhelming you with too much information. Okay, so let me see. Please confirm you can see my screen.
Yes, I can see your terminal.
Okay, what's going on? Okay. I think I should stop sharing. Okay, how does this thing work? Come. Okay, so I have a mini cube cluster. That's what we are going to leverage to deploy this pipeline. Right. So let me start my.
And also, Mukhtar, I don't know how you can try
You
to
said
move. I said, I don't know how you can try to move faster with this our demo as well because we have like 10 minutes.
Are you
so
serious?
yeah, so that people can ask questions as well.
Yeah, sure. No problem. I just hope the cluster doesn't. Okay, so I think let's just write like a little space.
Yeah, please, Mukhtar, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Please, can you increase your font size?
Okay, okay.
Yeah, it's still tiny font.
Let me see how I can do that. Okay. Sorry. I'm coming. Let me stop sharing and see if it can work. Oh, you know what? Let me just use this guy. Let me use my uh, BS code here. Okay. Okay. This one you can see my screen now.
Yes, yes, I see your
You can
best.
see BS code.
Yes.
Okay. Wait, where is this? And after this slow. Can't even find it. So slow. Ah, sorry, I might have to. Let me see if I can adjust to this guy. Oh my god. Okay. It's fine now, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Okay. So there is this. Okay.
Yeah. All right. Uh, for anybody that have questions, if you have any question, you can drop it on the Q&A section as our presenter is setting up the environment. Don't forget to drop your question, chat box, or the Q&A session. Thank you.
Okay. So all right. So there is you need to have like a for the agent installation. I talk about like on Kubernetes environment, right? The OpenTelemetry collector has a CR, right? That you can just install. You don't have to maybe use a hem to deploy it or something. So you can install it right from the repository. So what we first gonna have is we are going to install a certificate manager as well. I'm not sure if I have one in my cluster. So we have to install it. So it's going to be right from the repository. Okay.
Yeah,
So
Mukhtar,
we,
our time is fast spent.
you said
I say our time is fast spent. How are you going to help us with time?
I'm not sure this time is enough for us because I
Exactly.
and I was really like Hiroshi. I've got so many things. Like I thought it's going to be like 2 hours or something.
Actually, one
So I think what we should do, Mayo, right? Let's just finish this demo. I will just demo like we'll just do it like a automatic instrumentation. Maybe later, if the audience are interested as well. I also want to talk about sampling. So maybe we will look at maybe having me, in another session or something. So we can just wrap it up.
because our time actually is up. But let me give you grace of 5 minutes so that people can actually look as well.
Okay. Oh, can you add like 20 minutes?
We don't have that actually. We
Okay.
don't have.
So guys, as I said, uh, part of the uh, processes for actually setting up like a sorry instrumentation of a using agent on the on Kubernetes environment. You first need to like install like a certificate manager, and that's what Kubernetes use to like authenticate what's it called, communication between the CR and the environment, right? So we've already have our certificate manager instance running, and let's we're going to deploy our Jaeger. So I already have a manifest for the Jaeger deployment and say what's it called, service, right? Because it has to be deployed on a node pod so that you'll be able to like access the service via um, your browser. So Jaeger as the what was it called, as the observability backend. Sorry, that's not the. Let me see. So, okay, so we have our Jaeger running. Okay, let's watch it. Okay, so it's running now. So this guy, as I said, it has a service, right? And that service, what is sorry, what's being used to like exploit the expose the the backend. Uh, Let me see. What's the name of okay. I'm not sure if this service is created. Let me see.
Eh, ah,
It is. It is.
well
It is.
done, well done. Hello, Mukhtar, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, actually, like I said, our time is fast spent. So I think we need to improvise in the sense that maybe the code, maybe you can put it on your GitHub repo,
Mm.
and the audience can actually go there. I believe we have your GitHub repo now, so we can maybe like a step by step the way you uh, have it. You can just have it there, and you can easily go there and follow.
But that would make sense. I will write a documentation and share
That'll
with.
be fun.
Yeah, it's not a problem. But to be honest, let me know say I don't enjoy today's session. Like maybe it's an oversight from my own end. Though I don't really know.
No, I actually understand that open telemetry on the norm shouldn't be just a session learning. So we should have divided it into like two sessions. But I believe
Exactly.
the organizer, definitely we are bringing you back. We are
Yeah.
bringing you back. We have to work on that because we have a lot to learn from you. And you even talk about Cilium and EBPF as well. So we have to look on how to arrange a schedule for that one. But this very demo to be nice, maybe like you said, just write a documentation for it because we just have to round up now. We're just like 5 minutes, and from what the audience have gained, I believe some might have questions. So let's just use the opportunity to see how we can engage the audience and their question are being sorted. So we just have
Exactly.
to
So,
round up
so
on that.
maybe you can pass that information to the group so that I'm also added to the group. If there is anybody that has question, you can just like put it there. I will
Uh,
also share the slide, and I will make sure that that documentation, right? I'll put it together. And do you guys have a code base?
do we have what?
A code base, like a code base where I can share like all
Page
the
where
code.
you can share
code.
the.
Well, I use my personal.
Uh,
I'll share.
yeah, you can use your personal GitHub repo, your GitHub account. Just I'm dropping your GitHub account again, so people can be looking out for it. So when it's ready, we will make the announcement as well in the group
Okay.
because I'm very sure almost everybody is actually interested in this demo. They want to see how it goes, but like we always say, the god of demo is
All
so
right.
we have to
Um,
do that. So as we round up, if any of us have any question, you can. I don't think we don't really have any question yet on the Q and A on the Q and A. But if any of us have any question, can we unmute yourself and from all he has been saying because he has actually said a lot. As in what I'm waiting, I have my notebook actually being filled up already. In this demo, I can't actually wait to see. But like you promised, we are going to follow up on that. Why you have it documented on your record. So I believe we all enjoyed this session. Um, anybody with any question? Don't know because we need to run up like now. So any question? Let me check. The- any question? So the time is now maybe it's receiver session or what are the things you want him to shed light on as he was talking?
yeah. So the collector part has not been. I haven't done much
Yeah,
justice, and that's the most important thing about
important
this whole thing because like it's
uh,
the collector. It's the
collector.
collector that is doing most of the work,
Most
right?
of it.
And yeah, the instrumentation part as well
Mm-hmm.
is also very very important. As I don't know. Maybe we can anytime if there is anytime like, we can rearrange like this, and we don't even have to like publish it online to say okay there's another session. So we can just like do you know a paper note.
Like I said, definitely the we have the organizer and the team lead for these quarter as well. So definitely we pressure him, and I'm very sure they won't allow the team lead to actually rest on the group because we can't wait for the
And
demo.
yes, and you should also be there. Although Sophia asked me to share my stuff with her, it was
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I had a lot this week, so I was not
Okay,
able to.
to do
Yeah,
that.
but I think like yeah, if you guys have visibility into maybe what the person is going to present ahead of time, you can sort of like optimize and just to like make sure that the time is actually you know
Okay. Like you probably will be watching out for it. The time is done. I'm very sure the organizer will be in touch as well. I You said you are in the WhatsApp group as well.
Yes, yes, I'm there.
All right. All right. So for anybody that is yet to join the WhatsApp group as well, we encourage you to do so. You can go to our LinkedIn page. From there, you see all the information how to join the WhatsApp group. And I even message us through the LinkedIn and we get you added to the WhatsApp group. So Mukhtar, I really appreciate your time. Thank you for getting to our call, and thank you for the great presentation. I really enjoy it because someone that have been working on OpenTelemetry, I've used it, and but I have a lot of insights. There are some key insights that you actually like the history, the way you took the old journey. You know why we should actually use the OpenTelemetry, and I it's a very fantastic session. I enjoyed every. Thank you for coming out. For the audience, we really appreciate you for showing up. As this is for this month. This is the end of this knowledge series for this month. We'll be communicating to you as time goes on. When next month, definitely we'll work on that and let you know the time and how uh, we are going to be going about it. So I really appreciate everyone. Thank you for coming. Um, Nobody asked any question. Probably is because the demo was giving the people more insight. A lot of us we enjoy when we see what we actually do. So let's see how it goes. Definitely, we are reaching out to you because we have a lot to actually learn from you, to learn from you. We have newbies among us, we have expatriates and the rest. And we know that you have the experience. So we can't wait to tap more into experience. So Ty, we have the group link as well for anybody that is interested joining the WhatsApp. We have it on the chat, so you can easily make use of that and come to the group. All right. Have a wonderful. Sorry, I'm trying to. Okay. Have a
All right, my
wonderful night.
okay.
Thank you, Mutal, for
Thank you too. Thank you too.
coming.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Bye.
Guys, bye.